Good morning and welcome to Create a World. My name is Victoria McMahon, and I'm one of the collaborators with Create a World. Create a World is designed and opened up to conversation with others that are creating fantastic worlds in this new and changing environment that we find ourselves in. Our principles with Create a World are based on the principles of Tantra and Mat. And those are remembering that we are a part of everything and everything exists as a part of us too. And that we're always moving to the next greater whole. And in that movement, we become connected to that which is coming into existence and going out of existence. And all of those principles are embedded in the idea of being curious and observing how we are in each moment and what is rising for us to pay attention to. So we welcome all of you that are listening in now and later. And today, my guest is Merriman Cassels, and she is the founder of Astrology IRL in your life. And I'd like to just take a moment to welcome you, Miriam, and thank you for joining me in conversation today. I'm so excited to just be with what you bring forward in the world and how it supports us in the evolution of our time or devolution, depending on how you look at it.
Both. Yeah, that's really good. Thank you. Thank you, Victoria. I'm honored that you would ask me. And so thank you.
So I'd love for you, because you have a fascinating history of coming into the world of astrology and how you work in this world today. Can I just love for you to tell everyone a little bit about yourself, your bio, just to get us grounded together?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Victoria, it's so interesting. I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina. Beautiful childhood and University of Georgia graduate from their School of Design. So I've been in the design industry for the last many years, we'll say. And around 2012, I had a big aha moment where I absolutely knew beyond the shadow of a doubt we were one spirit. And with this knowledge, there was a seed planted that what I was doing, while valuable and of service, that there would be a new calling coming through. So I had always been interested in astrology, loved it. About the same time that I discovered astrology, I also discovered the practice of bee shamanism. And so, a beautiful path of shamanic work with the bee, which around 2015, I discovered both as practices for me, studies and practice, I would say. So because they came into my world together, they are very intertwined in the way that I practice my astrology. And so having this background in design, I'd actually built a company, Hive Design and Porcelain. It was a beautiful business, and 2020 kind of turned it on its ear. I was able to actually recreate this business, really changing it from an in-person to an online and wholesale retail business, and then sell it, because I really felt this deep calling that as the energies were shifting and as we experienced them in 2020 in ways that we never would have believed, our lives could have been turned sideways. I felt it was important to move from that field of design into astrology full time. So I actually sold my business, sold my home, moved to Sedona, Arizona, where I felt like there was a strong environment of not only acceptance, but embracement of these holistic arts or metaphysical arts. And so I've been here 1 year today. And I'm actually coming from my office at the Center for the New Age, which is located right by Tlaquepaque in Sedona. So it's a very, high traffic, beautiful area where I am able to serve people daily with astrology and also reading the Akashic records.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know it was today. What?
I realized it this morning when I was drying my hair.
I think that's for me, that's how I register. Something is rising
Right.
when I hear these connections. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about um how, like, maybe some of our viewers don't know bee shamanism and how that intertwines. So could you speak just a minute or two about the bee shamanistic aspect
Thank
of
you.
human astrology?
I would love to share that because I think it's such a beautiful practice. And like every other structure on our planet that is being challenged, even the lineage of the shamanic path of the bee is being challenged right now. And so we as practitioners are called to really go within and to align with our own divine truth. Are the practices, do they resonate? Are they real? Are they effective with us? So I went on a little sideline from where we meant to go, but really, these are traditions that have been passed down mouth to ear from woman to woman, generally through the it's gynocentric, as a gynocentric path, generally, as the hive tends to be gynocentric, female centered, and with a queen. But the bee shamanism is not necessarily working with a queen, it's more working with the divine as being, the ultimate king queen balanced energy of masculine and feminine. But ultimately, it is beautiful practices such as walking the eight, which the bees in the hive they will stamp out or trot out a little pattern of eight in the hive in the direction of the abundant flora that will provide the nectar and pollen to nourish their hive and to make the beautiful medicine, the honey, which is not only wonderful and nourishing to eat, but it also carries so many healing properties with it. It contains oracular work, really, delving into that knowing that we hold in our bodies, and particularly as women in our womb, our first brain, so to speak, and that always knows what to do. And so
I'm really listening from my body and what you're saying, and I'm feeling this the resonance of I too am a body worker, if you in how I orient, and also that sense of that knowing that comes from the listening within.
mhm.
and and I'm already kind of making another little leap here, or maybe it's a thread, I'm not sure, but this notion of the little bit, I'd say little bit that I know of astrology, that there's this way that I can imagine you connecting the threads of that inner knowing and that nourishment of body, nourishment of our home while we're here in this body, and I'm just imagining how you might be threading the astrology of land and cosmos into this, what my language would be a meta point, into this connection of so above, so below. And so I don't know, what does that stimulate for you as I say that in terms
No,
of
it's
beehive
very
astrology?
powerful because in my course of practice, we have the interior stars, which is basically aligned with our endocrine system. And so balancing our interior stars, or roses, as they can also be called, is a way of aligning with the planets and really as I see it, and as I take my own personal leap in this, because every practice, no matter how steeped in tradition it is, or how, revolutionary and new it may be, is ultimately designed to bring some level of balance and attunement to our being. And so, for me, it is very much about, aligning this instrument that is my body, to the frequencies of the cosmos, and bringing that information down to allow myself to live in a greater flow. So, the honey flow is the most abundant time in the hive. And so when we're living in our own true flow, we are really experiencing those synchronicities, that abundance, that acceptance that is so critical. Life is going to be life. We don't get to try and outfox it, but we can calibrate ourselves to move with, the Zoom snafu, the whatever may come up, tiny inconvenience to, massive, disruption. And still, Victoria, have that great gratitude for the depth and breadth of the experience of what it is to be embodied.
Oh, I feel the depth of what you're saying, Merriman, in the way I want to like go back to two things that really stood out to me that you were just saying. One is that I heard that notion of all paths, whether they be ancient or revolutionary new paths, are really all about that balance point of us recognizing and remembering who we are, that we are a spirit in a flesh experience, and the balance and access of both aspects of us is what the experience we're having is really all about.
It really is.
And the other thing that you said that really gave me evidence of that in a very new way is that in my traditional studies of yoga and energy, the endocrine system and the chakra system are just two different languages for the same thing. And it's really about bringing balance. And so when you said the inner stars or roses are the endocrine system, I totally connected another traditional pathway into my own, and so I got a deeper understanding of how all paths are interconnected. I think that's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I mean, it reminds me of the tree of life behind you, just that all of these different branches and ways of expressing being a tree. But, they're all, the tree is ever growing, changing, dying, leaves are dying, coming back, producing fruit.
For the bees.
For the bees, yes.
No, it's such a like a full moment of how our traditions support us in living the experience of our lives. And so I'd really like to kind of pull in the astrology in real living. I know I just said that wrong.
In astrology in real life, yes.
Real life. I'd like you to maybe share a little bit of that right now, of how that came about for you, and how you work with people from this particular point of view of astrology.
Thank you. It's so interesting because I've always been fascinated by astrology, but frequently, especially when I'm around astrologers, they start speaking all of this language that even as an astrologer, I can't follow, and they're like, oh, Venus conjunct Pluto square Uranus and Jupiter, and then it's all of this, and and then it's like, and then that means big transformation. And so I'm like, I don't know what any of that means. I mean, I do, I really do. Now, that's not really fair. I do, but I have to stop and I have to break it down bite by bite by bite. And so I think astrology in real life is really bringing it down to how is this really applicable? How does, how could it manifest? How does it manifest? How has it manifested? I think one interesting way to tell the stories is through the mythology of the actual planets, why they have the names they have, how their stories, how they would interact with one another if they met on the street.
Three
Okay.
planets go into a bar.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. Today I design on my Instagram, I design these collages because I have this many years in the design industry and infinite digital assets at my fingertips. And, I pulled some imagery of Hugh Hefner, took it in, photoshopped with two women, I think like his girlfriend and his wife or something like that, but it was Venus meeting Pluto today and in Aquarius. And so, Pluto is considered the god of the underworld, but in the ancient times, he was also considered the god of agriculture and wealth. And it's still, when you pull out a term like plutocracy, which is run by the wealthy. It's, it's delving into this truth that the underworld is the place where our bodies return. It's the place where the dead go, but also our bodies actually nourish the planet, the soil, and make it rich so that we can grow. All the minerals exist underground as well. So, they're mined from underground as well. So there's great wealth under there. And the interesting thing is Pluto in the Roman god's name is Dis Pater, which means rich daddy.
Wow.
Yeah. So you look at this Pluto in Aquarius, I thought Hugh Hefner, a wife and a girlfriend, a wealth of riches being strewn at their feet. Venus and Aquarius, moving into Aquarius at 0 degrees Aquarius. Venus in Aquarius is, she's a little revolutionary herself. She's willing to turn some traditional thought processes around love on its ear. So it's something of a perfect marriage for a different kind of relationship, and one that might be it might be different than what society would really embrace. And those girls might not just love rich daddy for his good looks and charm.
I love the metaphoric story of that. And as you were talking about it, I was thinking about how I relate to the underworld. And for me, it's oftentimes the what is not seen,
Mm-hmm.
or what is not, what the shadow, if you will. And I think of the dirt of the deep earth and how there's so much rich, the soil is rich and full of possibility.
Yes.
But it's almost as if the metaphor of how we are in relationship, and in these moments now, how every 5 minutes something new is rising up and being revealed, and the abundance of change. And I go back to what you were saying before about how do we balance within all of this change. And it feels like that's so much what time is about right now. How are you in relationship to time with all of the changes that are becoming revolutionary, evolutionary, devolutionary, all the systems that I was just visiting my aging parents. And I came to realize after being with them a number of days, from when they came into their body personality to where they are now at this point, so much has changed. And I heard so much about the awkwardness of this world we're living in and not understanding it. And I think about how that is in relationship to what you're saying about Pluto and the abundance of possibility that's there, and the how do we support each other in balancing through what feels overwhelmingly new and different for people in their 80s, and then
Yeah.
how it's perceived by people, by kids, and how different the perspectives are based on where you locate yourself in that, and more than likely how you locate from your astrological space that you inhabit too. And it's just turning all that up. So I wonder what that is. Anything from you on that?
So I want to step back to what you said about mining the subconscious, really is where, the riches of the subconscious, because we've had Pluto in Capricorn for the last 16 years. And of course, we've been building these capitalistic structures, these governmental structures, with a lot that is also hidden underground, a lot that we've not known. And many might say we've even been sold a bill of goods in some ways. And so, not to get too political here, but now is the time where a lot of these structures are crumbling. They are coming down. Our founding fathers signed the Declaration of Independence 240 years ago when Pluto was in Aquarius. Aquarius is a humanitarian sign. It is a sign of innovation. It is a sign, of course, they didn't really have the word technology back then, but it is a sign of technology. And so, realizing that it is back where our founding fathers created this country gives us a notion that that which has been hidden is being unearthed, is being brought to the surface. The riches are being brought to the surface. And we are seeing very rapid innovations happening. I think I agree with your parents. I often feel myself that things are moving too fast. How many of us a year ago were even really dialed into AI as something that might be a part of our lives? We really weren't. And so,
And I'm just threaded a little bit in terms of how you use astrology when you're working with people to support that sense of the balance point of the lives that we have known for ourselves and the life that we're coming into. I just curious about that.
I have to think about how I want to answer that question. Each person's chart is different. So the changes are going to show up in a different place in their chart. If this Pluto in Aquarius is in your third house, you're going to really be changing how you're communicating. If it's in your fourth house, you're going to really be looking at how you live, where you live, with whom you live. In your 10th house, you're going to be looking at your area of career. So this lands it for you in real life. And so we can talk about how would that look if you have Pluto and Aquarius in your 10th house, moving through your 10th house, you may be, more inclined to align with the more techie movements. if that's if Capricorn's there, then it may be, as it's moving into your 11th house, that, the way that you did business is no longer functioning for you, and you're going to be more inclined to pursue something that's more in line with your hopes and dreams, with community, with humanitarian efforts. So we're going to see it land different ways with different people. I want to know if I answered your question.
The way you answered it, my whole body system kind of just like settled and grounded and said, okay, I understand that it's really about being in relationship, just like I'm in relationship with human beings. I'm in relationship to nature. I'm in relationship to my astrological chart as a way to inform me how I can I can be mindful about how I pay attention. And so it just feels so much more like palpable for me to hear you say it like that, rather than like what you were saying before, the this crosses this and conjuncts that. That gets my mind kind of like gobbledygooked.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the
people
training.
down. Yeah.
So I appreciate how you're just kind of like giving a little bit of ground to, oh, we're all going to interact from our relationship within ourselves based on how we know our chart. And
Right.
so to know your chart helps you to more deeply know yourself.
Yes. 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 And an interesting note, just side note with astrology, is it's very important to know your birth time, which you can generally find on your birth certificate. There are some folks who were born in a place or a time where they do not have that information, and they cannot confirm it with, with a relative or someone. And that will give you a notion of where the planets are and the planetary relationships on the day you were born, but will not give you the nuanced reading of which house is being impacted. And the houses tell the area of life that shows up, whether it's showing up in relationship, work, personal health and well-being, finances.
Yeah,
So it's
so
an
that can be a
important thing
struggle.
to note.
Yeah. So I know when we were preparing to have a conversation, that you looked at today as a general what is occurring in the cosmos for today. And I feel like you spoke to some of that with Pluto.
I did.
I
Yeah.
do have more to say about today, just to
I think it's just interesting to note, this is what we would consider us moving into the age of Aquarius. Now, astrologers are going to debate that. People debate. We all do. I really do feel this is happening. I feel from my own life's journey, the 12 years from 2012 to now have been remarkable years of growth and evolution and stepping into my truth. And we've had Mercury, Mars, Pluto, and now Venus all moving into Aquarius. That is like everybody is having a party in the sign of Aquarius. Aquarius, again, is the sign of revolution. It is the sign of evolution. It is the sign of humanitarianism, humanitarian efforts. It is the sign of brotherly love. And our founding father, Benjamin Franklin, was an astrologer. So, our founding fathers knew these truths. And, Masons, the Freemasons, also have this type of knowledge. So, this has been something that astrology has been an undercurrent. Even when you think about the Farmer's Almanac, that's based on astrology. It was just acceptable astrology. So, we are looking at each planet getting like a Pluto wash. And that is, again, as you said, mining the subconscious, mining the way that we think with Mercury, mining the way we act and speak. And well, Mars can be kind of a quarrelsome kind of speaking, but the way we act and work, and looking at how we want to reevaluate that. And with Venus showing up, how do we want to love? What do we find beautiful, meaningful, and of value? So each of these is being washed by the planet Pluto. And, that's a very interesting story to look at in itself. And, there are other aspects happening throughout a chart. But just for the sake of really understanding and grounding with a concept, which we see in my journal, is I'm not trying to get you to take every concept and blend it and all of that. Just really ground into the concept of we are changing the way we think, the way we act and work, and the way we love and what we value.
Amen. Amen.
And we're doing this by choice. So we can call it a metamorphosis, but I think what we've seen, somebody wrote the other day in a text thread that I'm on, or yesterday they wrote about, the number of, earth events we've seen, floods and earthquakes and fires and all of this. And, I always question, is that a factor of we're just aware of all of these things now where we weren't always so dialed into it? Or are these really happening in greater frequency? And a big part of me thinks it's a reflection of our collective psyche. We're in a relationship with this planet, our mother Gaia, and our father creator. And, or I might say Father God, Mother Gaia. And we're in this relationship with above as below. And so we are reflecting, or the chaos of our collective consciousness is being reflected on this planet. It is being reflected in the political figures we pull forward. I mean, it's pure chaos. And so it is, but when you think back to how the earth itself was formed, it was formed out of chaos. And so
I was just thinking some version of that actually.
Yeah.
That for me in various experiences through my adult life, even my childhood too, I can relate to those moments that appeared chaotic. That really there was some juice of deep transformation that was rising. And that feels like what we're in right now for me. Is there's underneath the surface of it, in the Pluto metaphor of it, for me, is this sense of what do we choose to bring forward out of this moment of evolution. And for me, that's part of collaborating on Create a World, is to have conversation with people that bring forward in a very mindful, choiceful way of creating a reality that is unity minded and in relationship, so above, so below, that we are in our experiences to move our collective consciousness towards that. And I think that's you were saying that in the way and giving the evidence of it, and you're informing from the relationship of the cosmos with the land, with the beings that come in. So I feel this whole kinship relationship thing is so much more of what astrology is than I had considered before.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm like experiencing my own version of astrology and not knowing it.
I mean, we all are. Yeah, we are, whether we're conscious of it or not, we are experiencing the planetary energies and movements through us at all times. And we're expressing. So, that also brings up that interesting question of free will versus fate. And I've thought about that a lot. And, this is where I've landed with that. We come in with a certain makeup, and we're born certain ways that we can debate whether that's permanent or not, but that's not for here. But we come in certain ways, and we have the option of operating within a spectrum of those energies. So we can operate to the higher octave or the lower octave. And within that parameter, we have those choices. But, at this juncture, I am this person here as you see me, and I can operate within a spectrum of this energy. And if I try to operate outside of it, sometimes I'm just fooling myself. So,
And I would add to it, the more that we are in alignment in the balance of the beehive, the chakra system, the more we have access to the balance of it. For me, that's a higher frequency operating. And when I'm in higher frequency of my personal beingness, I'm more in flow, like you were saying. I'm more in the honey flow instead of stickiness, right?
yeah. And I think that you don't receive only a a vertical benefit of being connected to the divine. You consider you really have the lateral benefit of being connected with all around you, just as the bees in the hive are. The bees in the hive are infinitely connected. They intuitively know the rhythms of the hive, how to keep that temperature 97 degrees, whether they're flapping their wings more or they're, some of the bees are out on the front of the hive, letting it cool off a little bit. There's a collective, they're a collective understanding, and the organism continues infinitely, even though the bee herself may only live for 30 days, the individual bee. She makes 1/12 of a teaspoon of honey in her lifetime. Yet we go to the store and we buy this bottle.
Oh, that's just a whole nother perspective.
It is, but it's a very Aquarian perspective of living this life, working in joy, doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Retract that word. Living your calling, so to speak, and living your calling with joy and with gratitude. And when your time of service is up, moving on, and
in this community that I'm a part of, we would say coming here to be, do, and have what is yours to be, do, and have. That is the point of being in a body, is we are to have all of these unique and delicious experiences. And delicious can be defined as the moments that our personality feels challenged, as well as ecstatic or exuberant, or feeling the vibrant. That there's vibrancy in both. And I think we need to, I'd like to see us give more joy in what we perceive as the emotions that are joy, but they're sadness and their frustration. Like, some of my greatest movement comes when I'm frustrated, and
yeah,
I did that this morning as we were saying the whole internet snafu for me, just to have my place here with you. I had to work that frustration energy and say, okay, up with this, I will not put. Get this going. I want to be in conversation. And it works. So we have to channel and generate those energies, just like the bees are always generating inside the hive, outside the hive, like you were saying. I think that's fabulous to know that we're vertical and horizontal, and it's that point in which all operates from both. I love that. That very resonant for me too.
Oh, thank you. I'm so
Yeah.
glad.
So I know that we're getting closer to the top of the hour, and we have about 15 minutes. I wonder, is there any way in which you'd like to just dabble with us with the astrology of today, and how we might um, pay attention in a way, in a mindful way throughout our day that might guide us to be more in relationship?
I am going to get my phone very quickly and pull up this chart for
Oh,
the day,
cool.
because I tend to riff straight off the chart, which is nice. Let's see. And all I have to do is this very moment. This very moment, what I love about this very moment is it has a 23 degrees Aries rising, which is an action rising. And what I love about that is it should leave us, as we leave, feeling like acting on what we've discussed today, really taking this information and acting on it. It also, because we have both the North Node and Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer, and North Node is expansive energy. I think it gives us a calling for this day. I'm going to just sort of dip into a very intuitive place with this as well, is greater compassion. Us walking out into this world with greater compassion for one another, realizing we are really all here. It's not only we're all here doing the best we can, because we really are in any given moment doing the best we can with what we have, with what we understand and what we know, but a greater compassion that the world as we know it is shifting and changing. So it's changing for our parents in their 80s, and we have parents in our 80s, and these older folks, it's changing and it's making them very uncomfortable. It's making them not even want to be here so much, a lot of them. I know my mother has said, oh my gosh, I am glad that that future generations are going to get to deal with this. But when we think about this, it motivates us to really step into this day with this greater understanding that we're all, facing challenges. And so for me, that brings a very nice call, as it is, I'm looking to where it is having a relationship. I think it gives us a very nice call to step up and to ask somebody, how can I help you? How can I help you make your day a little easier? We're seeing right now in the 10th house, this Venus and Pluto and Mars all together. So this is giving us action to make change in what we value in the world. And a part of that can be when we draw on that energy of our own personal wounding, our own personal fears. How do we become the healer with that? How do we ask that elderly person, how can we help you to better understand the technology? I had a woman that I gave a reading to last night who was having just a bear of a time with the astrology. And I just said, with the technology. And I just said, let's stop for a moment. I'm going to do a little Google search. I'm going to find somebody in LA who can come to your house and help you with some of this. And she was like, oh my gosh, yes. And so there's, a company that will do online or in-home training for the elderly on basic technical needs, how to get on Zoom, how to, set up an email, how to, two more intricate, things that they might want to be involved with. But I think it's a very exciting notion that that exists. So, it's also just stepping out there, not just on a technology level, but how do I show up, in that space of brotherly love? So, it's just looking at the person beside you today and saying, how can I be of service to you? Like a bee is in service to us. So I think that's kind of interesting about that. We also have the sun in Aquarius. It will be moving out in a few days, but that's a lot of planets. The sun, Mercury, Mars, Pluto, Venus, all in Aquarius. And right now, all at the top of the chart. So it is speaking to us right now about our hopes and our dreams, about how we want to show up in the world. It is also really, really asking us to get real with what we value. We often think we value a big bank account, and we're going to have. And this is Merriman's opinion, not necessarily the astrologer, but in my opinion, we are always held. We are always given what we need through our Creator, God, in the things that that our society has become almost rabid for. The instantaneous culture of everything at your door in 48 hours or less that you want, all of the information in the world there. I feel like it's not just the astrology of the day, it's the astrology of the times to slow down, to before you move into that or into that place of acquisition or chasing or anxiety, and that can be acquisition of information, it can be things, it can be whatever it is, to slow down, put your feet on the ground, and give some gratitude for what you have and where you are, and be fully present. Because I think that is one of the biggest risks of this time is giving away our presence.
Say a little bit more.
I think we give away our presence by by being enslaved by these things, being enslaved by these things, constantly, and I'm guilty of it myself, constantly seeking, more knowledge, more information, or, the different needs. I mean, it's really like getting up and walking to the store, getting in your car and walking to the store and, comparing the prices of two things and, being present in the things that are coming to you instead of passively just having things delivered and information delivered. Like it's the call to put your hands on an actual book and read the book and, let your mind do the work. Everything has been so handed to us, our brains don't even have to work. And that's, again, a lot of the rub with the AI is taking jobs and also, or making some jobs obsolete. And so it can be a beautiful tool for stretching your mind and your imagination. And I use it myself for some things, but it's also the more I become in relationship with AI, the more I become conscious of how much I want my brain to do this.
and what popped into my mind about what you're saying is everything from the external world around us, it calls upon the part of us that is, who are we in the matter, whatever that matter is. That's our presence. And if we give no attention to that, we're just in the consumed of everything else. And I wonder, maybe I believe, I'm not sure yet. There is this sense of these times is giving us the opportunity to really cultivate our capacity for discernment of what we value, of how we matter. I could probably have you look at my chart, and there's probably something, this is my intuition, there's something in there that says the configuration that I came in was about me finding a place and knowing that I matter, and how I can be a contribution to the world, and doing that from the part of me that has something to offer, and having both in relationship with one another. So be curious when I do work with you, if that shows up, if I am in my own listening, and it's, I have, like, for my yoga tradition, there is a breathing practice and a mindful practice that is the sound of the bee that we make in our own throats. And
Right.
I'm thinking of that in this moment, and how there's so much of that in the way that I've used it over the years, that is that deeper connection within coming out. And so that came out of nowhere, and I think
I
it's
love it.
delicious.
I love it. Well, I think what you're hitting on is really the crux of what I'd like to share is that this gift of embodiment is one that's meant to be here and fully enjoyed. And so when we are out of our bodies and out into the ethers, acquiring, whatever it may be, we're not fully in that experience, walking in nature, experiencing, I've even was giving someone a reading the other day, and it was actually in the Akashic records, and I received a very clear message that she was to just walk on the beach and hear, without earbuds, and feel the sand, feel the water, feel the wind, hear the birds, hear the ocean, hear the wind, hear the children laughing, and be fully in this human experience instead of somewhere off.
Yeah, like bring the somewhere into here,
Mhm.
so that you have the fullness of who you are expressed. And
Right.
that to me is the balance point of the full expression of remembering who you are, where your soul comes into a body, and being fully here too.
Yes. And enjoying these other assets, these other benefits that we
Absolutely.
have, that we've created, conveniences. Um, just finding that place of balance, because it's almost like mom and dad have left the kids home alone
Oh, that's
with a
funny.
stocked pantry of everything they could ever want.
And oh, what do I dabble in today? Well, I
Yeah.
love how you brought us to what we do with the rest of our day, um, into the night, if we're in a different time zone, and we go into dream time with our action step of compassion,
Absolutely. It's
right?
a
Or
passion. Yeah. How are we going to show up from our own place of lack, mining that subconscious place, embracing that, and bringing that gift to someone else?
yeah. So We just have a couple minutes left, and I'm really filled with the gratitude of knowing the story of how astrology informs the experience of who we are and who we are with one another.
Mhm.
And that these times, while they may, at moments, we may feel uprooted by them, there's this moment in time that we've had this conversation to remind us, okay, just ground, breathe, and see, how do we express beyond the uprootedness, that that's a part of the plan, and we're a part of the plan, and we're here for a reason, that we matter.
Right.
And there's a value in all of this that is occurring, even if we don't necessarily know it yet,
Mhm.
that we can have a little bit of grace for ourselves and each other. And brotherly love. I
I
love
know. I know.
sisterly love.
Brotherly, sisterly, fraternal. Yeah, just whatever the word is,
Human
Yeah.
love, spirit love. Yeah, all of it, all
All the
just
sentient
wrapped into
beings.
one little
Right.
bundle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything to share as we close out?
Just the wish that, each person um walk through this day with such deep gratitude and humility being teachability for what this planet has to show us, and what the lessons that um, each of us has to give to the other, and walking with that consciousness that everyone is really a mirror and a reflection of ourselves, and everything that is happening to inform us, not to hurt us. And so, if it hurts, get out of the way. If it feels good, lean in. It's just,
Love it.
you know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
living with that simplicity
Yeah.
of being, instead of what we tend to do, getting all in our heads and trying to analyze it.
Yeah. I'm leaning in with you today and thanking
Thank
you
you,
so
darling.
much. Deep
Thank you.
gratitude for being with us, and
Thank you.
beautiful blessings.
You
Thank you.
too.